Over the last 1 hour and more, 1 hour and a half, we've gathered insights from all the eminent leaders from the industry. Moving on next to an interactive session of the conclave, which is the panel discussion, wherein we have Mr. Sridhar Ramanathan, who will be our moderator, the esteemed guest. Can we hear for him, please? Mr. Sridhar Ramanathan is a principal consultant and is part of the government and public sector practice in PwC. He has over 8 years of work experience in consulting and manufacturing sectors. He has worked on IT-enabled organization transformation and audit projects with clients in a variety of sectors, including investment banking, manufacturing, utility, central and state government of India, automotive, media, etc. He's an expert at understanding client requirements and identifying improvement opportunities for transforming current state processing activities and driving efficiencies. Mr. Sridhar has program managed many clients and their vendors and ensured adherence to service levels. He has done his BE in computer science from KJ Somaya, COE, Mumbai University, and holds an MBA from Case Western Reserve University, Cleveland, Ohio, and has done an executive program in supply chain management from Indian Institute of Management, Calcutta. We now open the panel discussion for moderation. Thank you so much, sir, for helping us with that. Have our guest. We have the name tags, and we would request all the guests to come onto the stage.
I'm really happy to be here. It's an honor. It's a real privilege, and I really mean it. For 3 years, I took the CAT, and I was aspiring to be in one of the premier B schools in India. I really gave up. As a hedging strategy, I took the GMAT. I went abroad for an MBA to the US. And today I'm here to talk in front of you. And actually, life's come a full circle because now I get to ask questions from some of the alumni of SP Jain. So, yay! So when I was told about this moderation opportunity, I was very happy. I said it's all about asking questions. I said, सवाल तो हम वैसे भी बहुत पूछते हैं, ये भी कर लेंगे. But till today morning, I was very, very confident of doing a decent job. I came here with a set of questions, and then I heard the panelists speak. And every time one of the panelists spoke, they just cross out one of the questions because they already answered those. So then I had to use the tea break that we had to come up with last-minute preparation to come up with a list of questions. Now, quickly moving on to the questions. Consulting, as it is known, I experienced this with my first client. I was a much younger boy, had lots of hair. With my first client, so I was with the general manager of production. I sat and I asked him, and I introduced myself. I said, I'm a consultant from Deloitte. So he told me, do you know what a consultant does? I said, no. He said, do you have a watch? I said, yes. He asked me, what is the time? I said, 10 o'clock. He said, that is what you will give me as this process. Then he asked me, till what time is the meeting going to be on? I said, till 11 o'clock. He said, so your 2B is to complete this interview with me till 11 o'clock. So that will be your 2B report for me. I was like, wow, this is what it is? Like a lot of cut and paste, ask questions and give it to them? Not really. Over a period of time, I realized that it's a lot more than that. It's not just number crunching. It's not just taking questions and answers from the client and giving it back to them in colored reports, lots of PPTs. It's a lot of intelligence and a lot of number crunching, a lot of interpretation of data that comes in. So that's what I understand of consulting. Something that now I would like to ask some questions to the panel. Something that consulting has always been blamed for is to have a template approach. Whatever we do, we follow a template. We prepare templates and we give it to the clients and we ask them to respond in the template that has been provided. Now, in times of disruption, I would want to ask, how is this getting altered? Can we actually extrapolate whatever we've learned from the previous client onto the other? Can we really do that? And how do we do that? If we can have some examples. Can we start with Ashish?
Sure. Thanks, Sridhar. Am I audible? Yeah, okay. So I think there are two parts to the story, right? So clearly the templates do help. It's good to understand a framework and have a structure to your problem-solving skills. Problem solving is not just a flashy thing. There has to be a rigor which goes in the process, right? That's where templates help. What's important is to know that you're not trying to solve someone else's problem in a given client context. I mean, every client is an individual, every company holds their own values, their own systems, and so on. They pride upon that, and it's important for the consultant to recognize that. So it's okay to use tools and templates, but it's not okay to try and fit solutions from a client A to client B. That's where I think that's where the jokes emanate from, basically. It's not so much about using of reusable material, but the fact that you're not trying to find the right solution in the given situation.
Thanks, Ashish. Consultants, there is again another one more blame that consultants have always had to carry on their backs, is that the people who do actually do the work, and people who can't do it, they become consultants. So in today's day and age, we see there is quite a lot of change that is happening in the consulting industry. People who are initially just consultants who just give advice to the clients today are actually going on and implementing those. And so just wanted to understand from the panel, what is the experience? What are the challenges that they face? What are the new skill sets that they have to acquire to handle such changes? Can we, Ms. Venu?
Audible? Okay. Well, one key change that we have seen among the Fortune 500 clients, the respect and the relevance of both. The respect for somebody who would walk in with a piece of advice and walk off is coming down drastically. So consulting as a profession, there is a demand from the marketplace, consulting as a profession to evolve into a collaborator, into a partnership mode. So a consultant today, I don't remember when this was published, a couple of years back probably, Business Today or Business India, one of these business magazines in India had a cover page on how consulting globally is changing. And one of the key points that article summarized was about consulting traditionally being playing an advisory role, now evolving into a partnering role. What it means is that you not only advise a client about the kind of change or the transformation that the client needs to go through, but you have to partner with him. You have to share the trouble of operationalize the pieces of advice that you have put across. I think as a profession, consulting is evolving not only from being advisory to being much more participatory.
You have anything to add, Manish?
Yeah, I think I agree with you. It's become more outcome focused. In fact, as I mentioned, the fee is linked to the outcomes. No one is looking for a report. Just one point about what you said, the template thing. In fact, I have a difference of opinion there. The reason I'm saying is when a client chooses you for a job, he first asks you, where have you done this? Have you done similar work anywhere else? And therefore, your credentials of having done similar work and delivered outcomes is a key selection criteria. In fact, they say start with what you have. Start with your assets. Jumpstart the program. Don't start doing as-is and wasting time and all that. The as-is has to be the smallest part. You come up with what you have, and you come up with what's the best for us. So therefore, assets, templates, or I would say similar experience is a big advantage. No one wants to waste time, getting into too much. But yes, every client is different, and therefore you can't come up with a quick cookie-cutter approach and just to copy-paste. You have to understand, but you have to have the assets, you have to have the templates, and you have to have the experience of done it in a similar environment. Otherwise, no one's going to take you. No one wants to experiment. It's like going to a best doctor, who has the relevant experience.
We won a short consulting assignment competing with Accenture, IBM, etc. of the world. And the reason, later we came to know that the reason that we won that assignment was that we consciously said we will not do an ASIS assessment because we will understand your issues before we step in. and we will come with relevant insights. We will start with keeping the to-be vision in perspective. And so that is one side. Second side, what will you advise a company like Apple in supply chain? I had a discussion with the Apple director last week. Apple is one of our marquee clients of Infosys. Can you guess the inventory turns of Apple as a company? A typical automotive companies typically range between 10 to 12. Chemical companies have about 2 to 3 inventory turns of 4. Can you guess the inventory turns of Apple? Give me a number. Yes, somebody said 100. I don't know whether, yep. No, it is close to 100. It is declining for the last couple of years for some reasons, but because Apple has put up new products into the market. And their old products are not selling as fast as the new products. There is an issue, but it was 110 in 2012. It became about 80. Now, advising a company which itself is a supply chain leader, or Procter & Gamble, for example, I don't know whether you know this fact. Gartner, for example, Gartner has been publishing the top leaders in supply chain management for the last few years. And Apple and Procter & Gamble have been the number 1 and number 2, or number 2 and number 1, and so on. The recent publication, I happened to read it a few days back or weeks back. When I went through the list of top supply chain companies, it did not have Procter & Gamble or did not have Apple. There was a short note below that we are omitting these companies because their business competencies are beyond the parameters that we use. To put it differently, they are beyond ranking. So, as a consultant, if you want to walk into a Procter & Gamble or walk into an Apple supply chain department and make a piece of advice, you not only have to have the knowledge of the specific industry, what may be relevant in such a context is what you may bring from banking industry, what you may bring from a retail industry to Apple, or what you may bring from an automotive industry, say to Procter & Gamble. Ability to strike the synergy across the business world. If you think you are confined to a single industry, and that's a limitation for me myself as a professional, because all through my life I have been associated only with manufacturing and high-tech industry. But what our own clients respect is our retail experience and exposure and insights. Thank you.
Sanjay has something to add.
Yeah, sure. Just to add on what Manish and Vinu were saying, in earlier days, most of the time, consulting means we used to get some problem is defined and you have to come and give the solution for that one advisory manner, and then it will get executed. And we used to get opportunity to do as a study or something. And most of the time, and some of us will agree here, that many times nowadays customers comes and say, you come here, don't talk to any of your buyers. Don't do as is analysis. Come with the industry perspective and tell us from outside view how you look our company as compared to my competition, as compared to industry. And as rightly Venu was giving example, don't just focus on banking. See what retail industry has done in B2C communications or interactions, and if they are advanced there, how that can be used in banking industry. So bring that experiences and give us a scope definition yourself, and then help us to execute that or transform that from the complex implementations of legacy we have, how we can transform into the new solution. So really the consulting is becoming more and more not just advisory role, but defining the strategy as if you are a kind of a part of that particular enterprise and bringing the best practices from industry. So templates, examples are always needed. Just one small caution on top of it, but still they want something different than what you did for other customers.
Yeah.
You use my template, you use other experiences, but I have to be something uniquely different, what you have given to others. So expectation is definitely you bring whatever the percentage you are bringing from others, but you are giving back to me, you need to have some delta there, which is uniquely positioned for me and my business and my geography and my line of business, whatever is kind of ecosystem I'm having. And that is what is a lot you want.
Another important characteristic I want to add is that are you really a trusted advisor for the client? Because what they're looking for is that you are taking their problem as their problem, your own problem. And I'm almost proud to say I joined ZS about 3 years back. In the last 3 years, 5 of these ZS principals have been nominated in the CIO, consultant top 100 positions. What that actually means is that, and when I looked at the profile of each of these people, they've been with the client, and the client doesn't take their business decisions without the yes and the acknowledgement of the person who's actually working with them. So that outside-in perspective is so important, and they are actually looking for somebody who will bring that, not just the template, but do you have the experience, like Manish said, of other clients, but are you really working for my benefit? Are you really looking to see that when I succeed, you succeed, and when I fail, you fail? And when they see you as a partner, that's when you're really reaching the true consultant definition.
Okay, one more perspective, since we're having so many perspectives out here on the table. You know, the consultant basically is like your doctor, okay, like your general physician. So when you go to a GP with a problem, he may not be able to solve all your problems because he's not a specialist. So he may then recommend a specialist to you, okay? Similarly, if you go to a consultant who is your trusted advisor, and that's a very important point that you made. The consultants, you don't go to a consultant just because you have a problem. Okay, you have someone you want to go to every time because that is the person you believe and who understands your business very well already. So you go with the problem to the person. The person may not have a solution to the problem himself or herself, but then they know who to approach. Okay, and that's the important role that a consultant plays, and that's how you get repeat business coming into you.
Yeah, that's a great point, because very often the consultant actually feels, I need to do something to resolve the client's problem. Yeah, you need to do something, but you can bring 20 other people into the fray to actually resolve the problem, than think you are constrained to research everything that's out there.
Can I just talk loud? Hello? Hello? Yeah. So this was one more point that I wanted to add to this, is that how much of an EQ plays a factor more than along with the IQ. Okay, so we all have a pedigree. We all have, like, we are the smartest in the smartest brains, and we go as consultants into the different organizations. But a lot more often than not is that we not just win projects or assignments based on our credentials. We also, it's very important to have the EQ, the emotional connect, which is what the humility and the emotional connect that Ranjan Banerjee sir spoke about. Just like to get some examples out of you, because you all have had so much of rich experience. What would be some recommendations that you would actually have for any client that is actually facing a disruption? How would you approach such a situation?
So, see, firstly, just taking on the point where Suresh was mentioning, see, in most of our cases, we would know the client quite well. Most consulting firms operate on a repeat revenue business model, right? So, I mean, I'm sure everyone will agree that 80–90% of your business is from the same person over and over again. That's because they like you, they want to work with you as an individual. So, it's not so much that you have to react to a disruptive situation. The fact that it's a continuous process. I spoke about it, kind of alluded to in my talk as well, that if you're starting today, it's already a problem. You should have started like 5 years, 10 years back, anticipating some of these things which were changing in the marketplace, right? So disruption is not an event, it's a process. And as a consultant, you need to know where to intermediate that process, right? And you cannot take, oh, today is a day of social, tomorrow is a day of mobility. These things are happening every day, and it will continue to happen for the next many years, right? So the idea is to not take a view of, okay, what should I do today? You should take a view of, okay, we are here, the business needs to be at some point in 10 years' time, and what do I need to do from now to then? And take that view and take that perspective, and that's how you advise the client. You don't talk about events.
Surprise, yeah. You have to make sure you're always one step ahead of the game. That's why you're the consultant. So you're coming in there, at least you have an ear to the problem, show the EQ quotient, that you have a true intent to resolve the client's issues. And maybe you don't have the deep picture, but are you the GP who can at least say, I think I know where we need to go from this point? And most clients are very receptive to say, I love to hear your advice, but I'm okay with you saying that I don't know the answer. You don't need to be the answer.
Well, another perspective that I carry, disruption and innovation, to me, they go hand in hand. So a consultant who is by nature innovative in nature, or leverages the so-called innovative quotient of his group or this organization would be able to add much value. If you look at the new Silicon Valley-based consulting firms such as BTG, I talked about that during my presentation. What is very interesting for them is that their value add to a client is not confined to their intrinsic capabilities. Their value add is leveraged from across the globe. Wherever you have the right skill, be it innovation, be it specific to an industry knowledge, etc., they have a good network. And in fact, many companies in the world are leveraging this very well. Procter & Gamble's 30% of Europe revenue comes from consumer insights. Rather, consumers provide their needs, and it is directly leveraged. And Eli Lilly, I'm sorry, is R&D. They do not have a dedicated R&D like many other chemicals firm or pharma firms. Rather, they have a fairly distributed research and development ecosystem. And who are their R&D engineers or scientists? They're all freelance researchers. So I think tomorrow's consulting world demands much more innovative spirit. It's not only adequate just because I'm 20 years experience, say, in the automotive industry or banking industry. Let me walk into the boardroom and advise a set of clients. I think that is not adequate. That would still have its validity and significance. But in modern day disruptions, which is much faster at pace, it needs much quicker response. And the response can be had only if you have an ecosystem where you can leverage these skill sets and innovations from.
Just to add, I think both the points. If you see the consulting point of view, when customers are coming to us, there is something happen in a market, in the same industry place or in a across industry, and sometimes it becomes a little panic situation that, am I late here? Right? Am I late? Am I losing something because of that? So real consultants, that's what trustworthy kind of consultant job is, to understand that scenario, manage the expectation from that. Somebody is coming with some kind of a hype, you can say, or reality also in the market as a competition, how we should respond to that scenario. So definitely you have to reach there, somebody starting new kind of ecosystem there, we have to react to that ecosystem, we may have to similar thing. But in a panic mode, instead of copy pasting it, how our own ecosystem, that's where the knowledge of the current customer and their kind of ecosystem is very important. And using that knowledge, using that experience, how we can not only meet something like that, but do something again differently. So reaction is not always copy. Reaction is not about panicking and getting, oh, I'm late, now I'm going to lose this thing. In fact, those who are waiting, who are putting some strategic efforts to understand what it means, and then looking into something else also, not by just one company doing or one industry doing, and adding those together and creating strategy which is more solid, which is more concrete for futuristic, so that we can go 2 steps ahead of it, not just catch it up. And that is where I think today's consultant job is extremely important, to handle those kind of a panic or expectation situations as a true consultant, and then give that kind of advice and solution.
I think that's a very valid point. The issue is that the consultant often walks into the boardroom, and the CEO in the boardroom often looks at some longer term point of view, okay? So you can't just go and talk about what you're going to do next, today and tomorrow. Of course, that's important, but that's something which the CEO's daily responsibilities anyway include that. So a consultant should have a view of a 3 to 5 year term, actually, okay? So what do we need to do today, and what's the impact of that 3 years down the line? If you can't think about that, if you're only thinking about what to do today and for today's response, then you're not a consultant, because you're not doing justice to the organization. So what is the impact, not just on operations today, but what's the impact in your balance sheet 3 to 5 years down the line? And that's an important thing to look at, number one. Number two, as a consultant, you need to be able to give not just solutions to a specific problem, but you've got to think about the ecosystem in the organization. And how do you change that ecosystem so that the organization is enabled to take those disruptions in the future? Because it's not a one-off disruption that is happening. It's happening continuously or continually. So how do you change the ecosystem? How do you develop the capabilities in the organization in a manner that they are able to handle things on a longer term basis? quite often what you also see is that the organizations build strategy to respond to disruption on a peripheral basis. And that doesn't take you very far, because you're not then developing the organization to become strong enough to be able to build on that for the future. So you have to make sure that your strategies for disruption are part of your core strategy as well, and not sitting on the periphery.
I think just a couple of points. One, in consulting, it's not to be in a good situation where you're being invited for an RFP or a request for a proposal. That means the client already knows the problem and he's invited 5 people to respond to that. So as a consultant, you have to sense, you have to understand the industry, you have to basically identify what could potentially be an issue in some of the clients, identify your target clients, and really then build a value proposition to the client so that you are creating the opportunity rather than the client calling you for an opportunity. That's number one. Second aspect is about sustainability. So when you are looking at a solution, you are not just looking from a process point of view, you're looking at how is the solution going to be sustained. And therefore, what is the kind of organization structural changes required, what is the kind of technology enablement required, and what is the kind of cultural change required. A lot of people feel that cultural change is impossible, it takes too long, nothing. That's not true. Culture gets driven by leadership behaviors. And by enforcing the change in leadership behaviors and metrics, you can change culture and you can sustain whatever recommendations you are driving, so that the client can continue to do that and get those results on a sustainable basis.
It's interesting how hello. Yeah, it's very interesting how we're talking about change and disruption happening at the client side and how we adapt to it.